All right, this is Mark Adams with 4Quartersonline, and this is a new edition of the Extra Point podcast. I'm here with Madison County head coach, Coach Harris. Coach, thank you for taking out time out of your schedule. Although you're a little less busy now, it's right there at the beginning of summertime where you're gonna get a nice little break for a minute, and then I'm sure you guys will be jumping into summer workouts. We were just recapping spring for you guys, where you just said, looking at some improvements in a few areas. I know spring can be a little it goes by really fast. You get like maybe like 15 to 20 days with your kids, just to be able to kind of put some things together. Talk to me a little bit about, I think where we left off, you were telling me about who was coming back and just how they were performing. Go ahead and jump back into some of those guys that are going to be returning for you.
Well, we got a good group of offensive line that are coming back, and I felt like they did a good job. That was last Friday. They did a good job of coming off the football, and there were some times where we got some really good push. Blake Hasty is a returner for us. Zachary Neal. We returned 4 offensive linemen: Marshall Pike, Johnny Norwood, and Khalil Johnson is coming in and playing at nose and also at center. And so that kind of lines up but we got some other guys that I felt good about. We wanted to get, we rotated our offenses every 2 series, full all 11 guys changed every 2 series. We wanted to make sure that we got a good evaluation because we have a lot of guys coming back. We wanted to see some of the other guys come out there, and they performed very well. We have, Jason McDaniel coming back. He was out this spring towards ACL the last game against Rickards, so we held him out this spring, but he'll be ready for the fall. Ryshard Miller didn't play in the spring. That was our 2 leading rushers from last year. So we got a chance to look at some other guys like Niquez Christian had a good game Friday. I was proud of the way he did some things, and Amari Minor, Javion Mims. Those guys look pretty good at running back. And then, of course, we got to replace Zay Bryant was such a great kid and a great football player. So we got to replace him at quarterback. And LJ Crumity and Chad Mitchell did a good job of that. They're young and inexperienced, and they're going to get better. But pretty pleased with the guys offensively in the way that they performed. Zay West had a big game, had a big catch. So we looked at there were some good things, some bad things. Got inside the red zone 3 times. Didn't get it in the end zone. That's got to change. You can't do that and be a high caliber football team. So turn it over on the 4, turn it over on the 6. Got down to the 17, didn't punch it in. So those are things that have to improve. But overall, I was pretty proud of the guys and the effort that they gave. Defensively, we returned a lot there as well. OJ Hodge, Dre Arnold. And Kamari Scurry come back at linebacker, and that'll be a strength. I mean, those guys all played, and JJ will come back in the fall, and of course, he was our second leading tackler last year. So we got some pretty good crew there, and now we lose Amari and Gentle up front, he was an absolute football player and just a beast, could play any position. So we got Khalil Johnson and KJ. Started almost every game for us last year as a true freshman. Brandon Williams played a lot. Yeah, so our D-line also losing OG Amari and Gentle is a tough loss, but we do return Brandon Williams and Khalil Johnson and that whole crew, Johnny Norwood, and then in the secondary we return LJ Crumity, which is a phenomenal football player. And Sean Williams, both of them were corners last year. LJ is probably going to transition to a safety, but we lose, because we lost all 3 safeties from last year. So that's a question mark on how those guys are going to respond. But I was really pleased in the spring. Niquez Christian, Tyreek Tillman, Detrez Lamar, all those guys looked really good in the spring. Even in the spring game, I was impressed with how they kind of played in that game. Now we got some stuff to fix, but overall, I was pretty proud of them.
Yeah, definitely. There's a certain kind of pedigree that comes with, if anything, I would say having even being a state runner-up, just playing in that game. You have what I feel like is just it's almost like you get that extra edge of experience where guys are really, they kind of understand that extra layer of being battle tested. Do you feel like that's going to be prevalent coming back? Just having guys who've had that extra layer of saying, man, we've been to the top, we've almost tasted it, we know what it's like. We kind of feel like, there's still some meat left on the table. We want to finish the job.
I think that's always the case. Madison County, our expectations are always the same. We expect to compete for state championships, but you can't compete for state championships if you don't take them one at a time. So, we're just going right now. We're just worried about how much better can we get in the summer. Then we'll go to FCA camp and we'll try to fix some stuff that we didn't do well in spring, and that'll lead us into the fall where we try to play Wakulla. That's all we can do. And so when you're talking about the championship pedigree, I mean, these guys. Most of them have played or been ball boys or whatever for state championship games, and so for us, we were not satisfied last year with losing the state championship, and we feel like we can compete again, but our issue is always going to be the issue that we have, and that's we're going to be undersized. So our guys are going to have to play with a little chip on their shoulder, and hopefully they won't become entitled, but they'll understand that they still have to work like a champion in order to be a champion.
Mm-hmm. Your team last year very much seemed to be superstar by committee. It was like, who's going to step up this game and make a play? Who's going to be the threat this quarter even? I've seen different guys kind of assume that role of like, I'm going to be the playmaker now. Is that how it is in practice? Most of what you see in practice is pretty much what you're going to get on the field. Is that kind of what you see?
It is.
Thursday?
It definitely is. And, we preach being unselfish. And that's one thing that I am proud of our guys is that, selfishness will get you beat. And so being unselfish, we talk about all the time, there's only one football. And, you'd love to be able to give everybody the football every play, but there's only one. And so what are you going to do when you don't have the football? We talked about that a little bit before we came on, but we always talk about you have to be better without the football than you are with the football. That means blocking. That means carrying out your fakes. That means doing all those things. And one night it's going to be your night. Another night it might be somebody else's night, and that's okay. At the end of the day, we want everybody to be successful. We want to be rooting on everybody. Sometimes it's the fullback will get off and have a great night. Some nights it's the tailback that has a good night. Some nights it's quarterback. Last year Zay took over a couple games and did it with his feet. And so, we've been able to do a lot of different things with a lot of different people.
Yeah, definitely. There's there seems to be a kind of a universal, kind of plug and play, stick this guy here. He seems to be able to kind of pick up where the other guy left off. What has been I would say probably the most prevalent thing consistent thing that you've seen from your guys in terms of improvement this off season?
Weight room. I really feel like they really attacked the weight room. We had some big gains. We did a little pyramid deal one section during the off season, and we saw 10% gains. 10% gains is a pretty good gain in the off season, and so we're 10 to some guys. We had a couple freshmen that had 30% gains from last summer till now. So, that kind of stuff all plays a part of it. You can play, but when you're undersized, our guys like Sean Williams, I think he's one of the best DBs in the state, definitely in this area. And but he's going to play at 5'9". He's just not a big guy. He's 5'9", 160 pounds. So he's going to have to be in the weight room. He's got to be a weight room warrior. He's got to make up for the stuff that he lacks with you can't control how big God made him, but he can control, what he does with stuff and how he attacks everything. And so guys like that, I've been really proud of this off season. Even in spring, I felt like we were physical at times. Now we've got to get a lot better. The physicality's got to continue to get better, and we've got to play with good pad level and things like that. And we didn't do a great job of that in spring as much as I thought we were going to do, but I am pleased with the work that they did, especially with the lower half in the weight.
I grew up. We were track guys, so we were always on track team, but weight room is just so important now, and you see guys actually going down and winning, especially at the state tournament. How does that, in my opinion, that's almost like one of a clear sign that you've got, established, routine, especially in the off season where you got guys competing in the off season, especially in the weightlifting team. You guys also got guys that play other sports. You guys got a heck of a baseball program.
We do.
When you're at the the smaller rural schools, you get kind of these multi-sport guys. How do you feel like that carries over? I talk to a lot of coaches, and they're like, it's invaluable, the skills that you learn playing multiple sports. It's definitely something I grew up with. How are you seeing that translate across your program?
Well, you can't replicate the competitiveness that you can find playing games anywhere in your off season. So you can do some stuff, but you can't replicate having to go out and compete in a game. And so when our kids play basketball and they do baseball and they run track, and we got a bunch that run track and do weightlifting, those guys going out there and competing every day, it's only going to make them better. Having to deal with different people, different coaches with their, every coach has a different way in which they go about business. And so, all of that stuff is really preparing them for the real world that's going to happen sooner than later. And so, it's going to make us better as a football team, because kids are going to learn how to deal with it, to deal with adversity, to compete at a high level, no matter what the sport. And so we love when they go and compete.
Now, Coach, recruiting trail, a lot of universities and colleges have been stopping by, and particularly taking notice of a lot of the guys that you already called out. How has it been just, with the recruiting trail, kind of working its way through Madison and picking up the guys that are garnering some attention?
Well, it's been great. Having guys come through here is always a blessing. It's tough, and that we talk about it all the time with the transfer portal and things. Now it's so much harder than it was. But you know what? Seeing these college coaches come out and look at our guys and being able to sell them, be able to talk to them about our football players is always a good thing. And seeing guys getting offers and starting to kind of feel like, hey, maybe it didn't all for vain. Maybe all this extra work and things that I'm doing is paying off. It's good to see that. It's good to see those guys. Because I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we want. We want our guys to be successful. It's football's great, but it's going to end for all of us. And how can we be successful? How can we get these guys a college degree? How can we get them to? And it doesn't have to be college. I mean, we have a lot of guys that go on and are successful in a lot of different areas. Over the years, I've been doing this a long time now. It's my 26th year, and so I've seen that. Yeah, it's been a little ways.
Yeah,
got too much gray in the old beard now, and it's but. I start to see you start to see that these guys, they can do things other than just go to school, but we want them to be able to go to school. We want them those opportunities. And so, seeing guys come through and looking at being able to watch the film and going, gosh, coach, you got some players, and we know we do. And, I couldn't be more proud of them, especially for all the effort that they give. We want them to be able to get that payback. And so, seeing these colleges come through, it's been a blessing. I think I think I'm sure you've been dealing with a lot more schools than I have, but I feel like it's kind of getting back to normal, of how it was before the COVID and all that kind of stuff. Now it's not perfect, but it's better.
I've seen a lot of pickup with, I was just talking with Coach Cooper down at Franklin County about this, just in NAIA and D3 schools coming through. You got a short list of schools that have come through recently that you were impressed with, just in how they handle the process and kind of what they were looking for with your kids?
Yeah, well, I mean, St. Thomas is always really good with those. When you're talking about those small schools, the way in which they come and recruit, Kaiser and Allen University, and be honest with you, we saw a lot more Division II schools than we have, but that's kind of where recruiting's going. And you got the big time Division I guys, but they pick so many guys out of the portal. They're only signing 10 guys. And it's hard to find. It's hard to be one of those 10 guys, and it's hard to tell a kid that because they grew up and they saw all these other guys getting recruited.
Right.
And now the recruiting is so much different than it was. I mean, whereas, used to, guys were signing 25 guys a year. Now they're signing 10 guys a year. It's totally changed. And so some of these smaller Division I's and D2 schools and FCS schools, the Charleston Southern was, those guys are all great guys that stop by and have been beating the bushes and trying to make sure that we get all of our guys, that they don't leave a stone unturned. But I've been talking to those guys, and they're frustrated too, because they get a good guy, and then they go and they play really well, and then next thing you know, guys are trying to get them in the portal and get them the bigger schools. So they're frustrated as the coach, as a high school. And I know, and I've talked to a lot of high school coaches. We're still frustrated. I mean, we still feel like that we'd like to see our kids have that opportunity to get to school more often. And I feel like with the way in which the transfer portal is still hitting us, that it's more and more difficult. But it's not impossible. And so we sent out. I sent out. I said the other day, it was like 463 text messages with our kids' prospect list. And then, they don't hardly read an email anymore. So you're trying to do all that kind of stuff, put it out everywhere. But it's still, there's guys that stopped by that, took the time to sit and chat and give us drills and things like that. We always like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Also put us on that email list for that prospect list. We definitely want to take a look at that too. A lot of what, I look at the Dabo Sweeneys, still like, nah, we're going to do it the old fashioned way. Right. Do you think there's still a place for that now in this landscape?
I hope there is, I really do. I hope it can't keep sustaining like it is. I mean, eventually, I know that one time there's like 30,000 kids in the portal. And so, it's, I hope that it can't continue to sustain like it is sustaining with the transfer portal, and that they've got to go back and get some of these high school kids. But I also know the expectations for college coaches is like, you get 2 years, man. That's like you win 2 years or you're gone. And so I understand where they're coming from and where they are. It doesn't mean I like it.
There's a lot of, you can't unpack a suitcase mentality.
Right.
Don't make this your home, for 4 years like you used to.
And now now they passed the law that guys can transfer as many times as they want. So it might even be worse. I don't know.
Even just in the state, the trickle down effect from that is that you see where now you don't know really what to tell a kid. You don't know how to get him truly prepared, because the landscape is not what it was. Some of the some of that advice, like you were saying, that you could have gave out, now doesn't apply anymore.
Right. Well, we're sending 3 to Division IIs this year, and truthfully, some of these guys that are going Division II, 4 years ago they'd have been a Division I player, and that's kind of where we're at. And before COVID, they're no doubters, and we wouldn't have had a problem getting them in. And you're seeing that's a harder landscape. And then you've gotten guys now that you're just seeing more and more and more and more guys. More and more guys that are falling that shouldn't fall, and then and then at the last minute, we've all been there too. All the coaches, I think you take a poll everywhere, your kid's going to go here, your kid's going to go here, your kid's going to go here, and then at the last minute they're like, oh, coach, we found somebody in the portal, so your kid's not going. So that's the other fight that you have. And so giving that advice to the kids is, hey man, you just got to be prepared. You got to have that 2.3 core. You can't have it, truthfully, you need a 2.6, 2.7 core, and that makes all the difference in the world. You got to be prepared academically, because you don't want to be, the guys that used to be right there on the fringe, that they would do, okay, well, you're on the fringe, we got a chance, we're going to wait on you the last couple grades. Now they're just like, you know what, we'll just go, we got other options, we're not going to take you. So you got to really be prepared with your academics as well.
Absolutely. Coach, before I let you go, I got to get your thoughts on this. We're reshuffling again in the classifications with the state and everything. And I guess they were talking about splitting the 1A rural up.
They're doing that.
So So it looks like that's moving forward. Just give me your let's try it this way. Phone rings and you're now in charge. You're over the FHSA committee. What's one of the first things you do?
Well, I was one of the ones that was big on the, and I presented and did all that stuff for the rural and the metro,
Mhm.
and I thought that was a tremendous program. They overturned it this year, and that's their prerogative or whatever else. But I thought, yeah, it might need some tweaks, but I thought that was a really good. I thought it did a great job of doing what we originally wanted to do, which was give more people an opportunity to win a state championship.
Right.
You saw Bradford, and it also was the highest attended state championship since like 2007.
Mhm.
So, I thought that was good. So I'd really like to see that. But as far as the rural division, I'd like to see districts. If you've
Yeah.
seen my schedule, you see that nobody will play me. And so, here I am out trying to find 10 games, and so, it's okay. We'll play whoever. We're not scared to play, but
Mhm.
that gets. It would be a lot easier just to say, we did this a couple years ago, and we ended up going in as like the 6th seed, so we had to be on the road the
Yeah.
entire time. It's crazy, and then you got, it's just it's amazing, and like the trap, like for us this year, we're going to go to Pensacola Pace. We're going
Mhm.
to go to Land. We got, next year we got a Popco on the schedule this year. It's going to be and for us to have that kind of schedule, and trying to find it, and go everywhere, and your local schools don't have to play you. It makes it really tough. And what other people don't realize is like how much that affects your gate.
Right.
Local teams bring more to the games, and so not that we're unhappy about the group that we have, but
Mhm.
play those local teams is huge. So we would like to see. Of course, we would like to see, if I had control, I would like to see districts in 1A. And to be honest with you, I think we're already at like 30 something schools. Why do we need two playoff systems? So
Yeah. Yeah.